his wife Lucy have had a baby boy. Yeah, and I'm sure we want to pass on our congratulations. Also, during our sort of recess, the strategic rail report came out. I issued a statement which I felt reflected the views of most or all of you in this chamber. I'd also suggested taking certain courses of action, and I'm just looking somebody to second what I have proposed that we write. And I'm seeing Dr. Josephine Deehan was the first with her hand up there, so thank you. And we'll follow up and see if we can have a meeting with the Minister to encourage him to go ahead as soon as possible with the suggestions for Omagh and to try and get Fermanagh brought in there. And I'm seeing Councillor Stephen McCann.
Okay, Chair, happy enough with that. I wonder if I may also just at this juncture, Chair, pay tribute to the late Derek Mahaffey from Fintona. Derek passed away last month at the age of 78, and proud son of Fintona. He was remembered across Ireland and indeed across the globe. Derek was a well-known singer. He fronted the band The Sounds and The Conquerors, and he played in dance halls across Ireland and across Europe and across the US as well. And in 1999, he received the Male Vocalist of the Year amongst many other accolades. So it's very notable that we should maybe mention him this evening on our first council meeting back in the chamber. And obviously express our sympathy with Shirley, his wife, and indeed the wider family as well. He was always a very proud Fintona man, and Fintona was very proud of him, as indeed was West Tyrone and further afield. So can I propose, Chair, that we would maybe write formally as a council yourself, tell the wife of Derek Mahaffey, expressing our sincere sympathy at her loss.
Okay. Thank you for that, Stephen.
Thank you,
and, do we need that second? Councillor Rainey's quite happy to second that. Thank you, Alan. And while we're on that note, myself and the Vice Chair have sent a letter to Claire Donoghue on the death of her husband Tom to her and to wish condolence for her and her family. Claire had recently written a book for children around the pulmonary fibrosis, and I was pleased to be one of those involved during the launch of that book. And that book is a major resource across the world now, and it's only recently been launched. So it's quite sad that her husband has passed away, and myself and the Vice Chair have sent a joint letter to pass on condolences to her. And I'm going to bring in Councillor Anthony Feely here.
Thank you, Chair, and sorry to hear about them deaths, but I just want to bring in a wee happy note. John is okay, and I was chatting earlier on about it. It's just I'd like to congratulate the Fermanagh ladies on winning the All-Ireland Junior final there last month. There, it was an outstanding achievement for the team, and it was great to see a bit of a boost for the county. It's not too often Fermanagh even gets to an All-Ireland, but to get to it and win it was great boost. So I'd like to organise a chair's reception, and I'll send you on the paperwork later on. If it's okay, I'll be proposing that.
Okay, thank you. And I'm reliably informed that we're already working on that. So
just when I'm in the chair, just like to mention too, John, the same day Leitrim, my neighbouring county, won the intermediate final that day. Well, I know to beat Tyrone, but not too often to get to an All-Ireland either, and they won it. And there's a fella from Garrison as part of the management team, so maybe we could just send him a letter congratulating on this achievement. I'll give you the name and address later on if it's okay. I propose that as well.
Okay, thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, John.
Okay, I'm going to bring Councillor Seamus Green in.
Yeah, if there's needs anyone to second Anthony's proposal, I'm happy to do so. Just on another note, Sunday week ago there, the Bruitborough Heber McMahon's opened their new facility in Bruitborough, and I would just like to thank the chair for coming along and participating in what turned out to be a great event. And so thanks very much, John. It was much appreciated by everyone.
Okay, thank you, Seamus. Okay, so I think that's sort of tidied up all that necessary stuff. So now we go to apologies, and first of all, I go to Councillor Tommy Maguire. No, sorry, Councillor Debbie Coyle. Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. Councillor Roisin Gallagher and Councillor Catherine Kelly.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. And Councillor Warrington is isolating as he has got COVID, so I'm going to go to Councillor Warrington. He is online.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Mark Alphins and I see Councillor Armstrong has appeared. So just Councillor Mark Alphins, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Next we go to Councillor Paul Robinson.
Apologies, Chair.
Thank you, Paul. And Councillor Gordon McPhillips.
Thanks, Chair. Apology for Councillor McGrath and Councillor Gannon's running late, but he's on his way.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have signed the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th. So now we go to declarations of interest. Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm jumping the gun here. So it's the meeting of the 25th of July. So we're going through this for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16. So the proposer, Councillor Robinson, and the seconder, Councillor McCann. Thank you. Okay, now I can get to declarations of interest. I'm going to make one in case it comes up, as it is in there. My son-in-law is doing some grass cutting for the roads, the DFI. So depending on how that debate may go, I'll see whether I need to leave the chamber or not. And I see no other declarations of interest. So matters arising. So page 1, page 2. Oh, sorry, Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Chair. It's just on page 1 in relation to reception there. Can I propose, Chair, that you might consider holding an appropriate reception for those who were successful at the All-Ireland FLA in Wexford recently? I know that a number of people from across the district would have attained success at an All-Ireland level, which is a huge achievement for themselves personally, but also their parishes and their communities and their families and those who have taught them as well. You know, so definitely a very proud day for many from this part of the world. And I suppose, Chair, I was watching it on the TV. I didn't get down myself, but TG4 covered it live. And the very start of the programme was the Drumlish Ceilidh Band who actually opened the live event from Wexford, but the Drumlish Ceilidh Band are from this part of the world and from Dromore, outside Dromore. And it was closed by the Whistling Donkeys, who are also from West Tyrone connection. So it really shows the high level of musical talent that we have in this part of the world here. So can I propose that we would maybe formally recognise those who were successful at All-Ireland level? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, if you can follow that up with the necessary paperwork, Stephen, I'm more than happy to go with that. Next, go to Councillor Barry McElduff.
Just second Councillor McCann's proposal, but again, not wanting to increase the number, but it's obvious to me that we should have a chairs reception in the future for our Olympians. Maybe this is already in place.
It's already in place.
Aye. And I would propose too, and you might have this taken care of as well, our Paralympians, if we have Paralympians from this council area, maybe it should be a joint reception for our Olympians and our Paralympians, anybody from this council area who's associated with either.
Yeah, we have identified the Olympians,
Yeah.
and we're trying to identify any Paralympians.
Thank you.
And if any councillors are aware of any, if you could forward their details to Jill
Okay.
or Leanne, it would be greatly appreciated, because it's an onerous task just to find out who has Fermanagh and Omagh connections.
Yeah.
But thank you, Barry. Okay, and Councillor Hayes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is page 3.
I'll just leave you for a second.
Okay.
Councillor Podrigan Kelly, is that anything prior to?
Yes, it's chair reception related. I'm gonna and I'll send the paperwork, but I was looking to propose one for the GA Handball World Champions from the district. I know within my own club in Knockmacrory, we had 5 gold medals home up the road. For a small community like us, that's excellent. I know in Greencastle they had a few, and in Brackey as well. So I'll send through the paperwork, but just acknowledge that.
Okay, thank you, Podrigan. So page 2, page 3. Okay. So is it 4-1 or 4-2? 4-2. I'm going to allow the Chief Executive to come in first. Okay, thank you.
Chair, just item 4.1, just to highlight for members, we have received a response back from Northern Ireland Water regarding the proposed works at Loch Macrory. And the council had made representations that these be dealt with as a priority project, and made further representations. Just the only comment, maybe, Chair, that I would make is NI Water is encouraging the council to allow this to move smoothly through the planning process. And if members were content, I think we should write back, encourage NI Water to engage in a PAD process. All planning applications must be dealt with on their own merit, but the earlier they engage with us formally, then the smoother that process will be.
Okay, so I'm looking at a proposer and a seconder for that. Councillor John Feely and Councillor Podrigan Kelly. Thank you. And Nolene, if you could, I'm going to turn your light on and turn it off very quickly to allow Podrigan to come in. Is that okay?
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Nolene. Happy for that to happen, Alison, and thank you for that update. I suppose it is a big priority in our village to get as much to be able to go in the treatment works as possible. So it would be obviously advisable for them to go through with a PAD. I'm happy for that to be sent off. And again, if there's anything else that they need, to be in touch with us.
Okay, thank you, Podrigan. Item 4.2. So Councillor Hayes. Sorry. Councillor Deegan, I'm going to turn your light on and off and allow Councillor Hayes to come in first. Okay, Councillor Hayes.
Okay, thank you, Chair. It's just in response to the letter back from the Health Minister. A couple of points I'd like to remark on. I would want to express my solidarity and support for the staff and patients at the Lissinsky Health Centre, and the incident he refers to in the letter, where posters were placed all over the building. It must have been quite an ordeal for the staff and the patients. I don't know why the people responsible thought it would be a good idea. Honestly, everyone in the area who deals with health centre knows very, very well the problems patients are having accessing appointments, and putting up posters is just pointless and offers no solutions whatsoever. A staff member turning up for work that morning and seeing those, knowing that you have to deal with hundreds and hundreds of phone calls from patients to arrange appointments within an hour. I mean, really, their job is stressful enough. I am under the understanding that our MP, Pat Cullen, and MLA, Anya Murphy, have reached out to the staff and management of the health centre to arrange a meeting with them, obviously to offer their support and solidarity, but also to try and work out how to improve things for the patients and the staff at that centre. The second point I would just like to was the Minister's response about the GP elective services and the cuts to that. Just to say it was actually his predecessor that implemented these cuts with no consultation and no impact assessments. Saying that, I do understand his frustrations with the budget allocation. However, every other department has had to deal with these constraints, and they still have come up with spending plans. And to date, Minister Nesbitt has not set out a plan. What we really need are plans to begin to tackle these waiting lists and services. The waiting list puts immense pressure on the GP services, for example. So I do propose that we do write back asking when will he set out his plans and his priorities, and how he does intend to tackle the GP elective services funding cuts, including women's services, and how does he intend to try and get, for example, the general surgery back up and running in the SWAR. These are the answers that people in this area need to know. Just on a last point, if he, in the references in the letter, if he really does want to know which councillors are bringing up these questions and from which political parties, I would suggest that he asks his personal SPAD, which ironically isn't here today, but is normally sitting right across from me in on these discussions. That's my point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to second Councillor Hayes' proposal, Chair. Just with reference to Minister Nesbitt's letter to Council dated the 20th of August, that comes under correspondence 8.6. I welcome this correspondence, Chair, and in particular, I welcome the announcement or the intention expressed by Minister Nesbitt that he hopes to be in a position to make an announcement on the revised construction commencement date of Lisnaskea Health Centre. As many members will know, this project has been in the pipeline for almost 20 years. And I think that it needs to be prioritised. I fully accept the budgetary constraints, and I do accept Minister Nesbitt has a lot of goodwill in relation to making an impact on waiting lists and supporting primary care as well as secondary care. But I think some things need to be prioritised. Chair, Councillor Hayes has referred to the recent incidents at Lisnaskea Health Centre where posters were erected and staff and patients visiting the health centre were subjected to harassment. Chair, I want to condemn that unequivocally. It has caused a lot of distress to staff and to patients, and I'm glad that the Minister in his letter has reiterated his support for staff. Chair, this is just exactly the type of activity that will result in huge stress and demoralisation for the staff who are trying to provide primary care services from a really grossly inadequate premises. We know the challenges. We know that patients are frustrated in terms of being able to get through to their GPs and to get appointments. But the staff there are doing their very best. The demand simply cannot be met by the capacity, and some things need to change. And I think, Chair, what needs to happen is very significant investment in primary care. Primary care is the bedrock of the NHS. If it crumbles, the whole NHS structure will crumble. So I welcome the support that the Minister has for women's health services and GP elective services. The will is there, the funding is not. But I would suggest that primary care services and women's services do need to be prioritised. And in relation to the harassment of staff...
Bring that to a close now, Josephine.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to point out that in our attempts to attract new GPs and other health-related staff into the area, this is the publicity which we absolutely do not want, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Nolene and Josephine, are you quite happy to note the correspondence as well? Okay, thank you. Councillor Roof.
Thanks, Chair. And just to echo Councillor Dean and Councillor Hayes on just kind of condemning what happened outside Lisnaskea Health Centre last week. I've spoken to the practice manager and sent my my support and the party support to them. They are under immense pressure, as many GP surgeries are across the district. More so the fact that Lisnaskea has had long-term problems with their accommodation. This is not a new story, and it's fair to say that if you were a newly qualified or soon-to-be qualified GP and you're looking for somewhere to spend the next 40 years of your career, an old building that Lisnaskea currently have would not exactly be the most appealing. And any way to try and secure a stable support system for GPs in the area has to be based upon this health centre being built at the earliest opportunity. Again, regarding the posters outside, I can appreciate the frustrations of patients, As I say, many surgeries are in a similar situation, but it is counterproductive to essentially target the staff who are actually helping the community. And they are seeing hundreds of patients. Whether or not people are getting through on the phones, I accept that, but hundreds of consultations are happening in that surgery every single week. And that has to be remembered at each point. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Thanks, Chair. And just to add my voice to the condemnation of the postering of Lisnaskea Health Centre, it is serving no purpose here. There is people in there working, trying to do the very best under, as previous speakers have said, very trying and exceptional circumstances. And of course, we are all very aware that every party lobbies to get the new health centre built as soon as possible, and that can only be a good thing if we can get a final date that is stuck to, and that building work commence there as soon as possible. But in the meantime, we should be supporting our GPs and our staff that's in the centre, and to be able to understand the difficult situation that they're in. Of course, notwithstanding the frustrations when you or a family member are requiring services and find it very difficult to access those services, it is not the fault of the GP services, the fault of the funding for primary care and the ability to attract GPs. Chair, that's on the bottom of page 3 and on to 4. Are you willing to take 4.3 there?
No, I'm going to close. I'm going to continue. This one here is going to take a while, but I will note that you want to speak on that one first and give you the jump on it.
Cheers. Thanks, Chair.
Okay. I'm going to bring Councillor Victor Warrington, who's online in there. He has been waiting for a while.
Thank you, Chair, for that. Well, obviously, just want to support the previous councillors on the condemnation of the posters, etc., which appeared in Lisnaskea outside the health centre. As Councillor Ruth said, you know, it's an old story to a degree with the building, with the infrastructure, and the problems that we have there. With the bottom line is the building's not fit for purpose, and obviously the sooner that the new health centre is actioned and kicks off, the better. You know, we all want to see services returned, services which has been highlighted by the likes of Councillor Hayes. We all want to see those services returned, but the bottom line is the money, is the finance for them. It's just not there, and we have to be realistic. And if there could be a magic pot found somewhere that these could all be reintroduced into the care system again, it would be great. And you know, that's the bottom line, and I'm sure Minister Nesbitt would love to be able to reintroduce them all back into the system again. And I suppose, like everything else, Councillor Ovens is not with us tonight. But I think we have to also remember Councillor Ovens is a councillor in his own right for Aaron West. He is a SPAD in his own right for the minister. And I think we have to remember, we have to leave those two separate and not constantly make snide remarks towards Councillor Ovens, which again has happened tonight. You know, at the end of the day, he is an influential councillor, and he has an important role as a SPAD. So I leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Councillor Seamus Green.
Thanks, Chair. I wasn't going to mention Councillor Ovens until that last intervention by Victor there. To accuse anyone else of snide remarks in relation to Councillor Ovens, I think is a bit ironic. Councillor Ovens has been reported by this council for to see had he breached the code of practice for SPADs in Stormont while sitting in on delicate legal advice that we were receiving in regard to a possible case against the department, to me is unforgivable. It smacks of all the worst things that SPADs have been accused of in the past, and even more. But anyway, I'll move on from that. As for Lisnaskea Health Centre, I think it was Anya Murphy, MLA, had written to the minister, or to the permanent secretary actually last year, looking for a date of when shovels would be in the ground, and she was given the date of December 2023 that shovels would be in the ground and business case and all would be completed. So December came and went, and I decided, well then, there's no shovels, I can't see any shovels in the ground. So I wrote in January, and I was assured that there was a bit of a hiccup and that there would be shovels in the ground come early summer. Now, I don't think we ever got a summer, but early, late, or whatever you call it, no shovels has been in the ground. And now we've got a letter stating that they're finalising the business case, which the department said that was finalised almost this time last year. It's absolute, they're telling us untruths. It's either that or incompetence. I don't know what it is, but these people don't seem to be fit for purpose. They don't give a dang about the people in Fermanagh. They don't give a dang about the people in Aaron East, or the patients of Lisnaskea Health Centre. The building is not fit for purpose. There's leaks in the roof. It is a scandal. And for the minister now to be putting it on the long finger again, I think it's absolutely disgraceful. As for what happened with the posters actually stuck on the windows of Lisnaskea Health Centre, we all know who did it, because they actually went onto Facebook and bragged about doing it. So there's no mystery on who did it. The same people picketed O'Neill's shop in Enniskillen here a couple of years ago, and castigated me for actually buying something in O'Neill's shop, and saying that I did. And then, lo and behold, 6 months later, they were in here with O'Neill's tops on them themselves. So the hypocrisy is astonishing all around.
Okay, thank you, Seamus. Just on time. Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just want to make a couple of points. As a healthcare worker myself, we actually face verbal abuse on a daily basis, and so I totally condemn what happened in Lisnaskea. It shouldn't happen, and if people do know who it was, then something should be done about it. But I also want to add that I'm very disappointed that the minister doesn't think we are worthy of a meeting with him. He has been here, and we were elected by the people of Fermanagh and Omagh. They put us in this position to advocate for them, to speak on their behalf, and yet he is just dismissing us altogether. And I don't think that's very fair. And I think we should, well, I'm not sure if it's worth writing back, to be fair, because he obviously doesn't really want to meet with us, but I don't think we should accept that. And I think maybe another letter to him would be appropriate, because we were put here by the people of Fermanagh and Omagh, and there are issues that we want to discuss with him, and to be dismissed by him is not good enough. It's good that he's added a sentence or two about the abuse that staff suffered in Lisnaskea, and and I welcome the fact of that maybe the centre's coming. Well, I doubt if it's sooner rather than later, but it's coming anyway. But I just wanted to express my disappointment in the fact that he's totally dismissing meeting us as the representatives of the people of Fermanagh and Omagh. Thanks, Chair. And propose that we ask, again for a meeting.
I'm going to take a certain course of action. Councillor Hayes and Councillor Deacon, would you be happy to include that in your letter? Yes.
Thank
you. And are you happy enough with that, Councillor Coyle?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And finally, we go to Councillor Garvin McPhillips, who's going to be the last speaker on this topic.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just to add my support in condemning the incident that took place the health centre completely senses act by a small group of individuals that clearly have no clue of the whole situation. So I would just like to add my support in condemning that and support all the staff in Maple Group. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Gordon. So is everybody agreed with the proposal by Councillor Hayes, seconded by Councillor Deegan? I'm seeing no indication contrary to it, so go with that. Thank you.
Chair, just before we leave health-related matters, members will be aware that we're due to have our Health Subcommittee meeting next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Just prior to this evening's meeting, I was contacted by the Trust. Unfortunately, due to a number of unplanned leave arrangements and unavailability of directors, we will struggle to have a Trust quorum. So as such, it would be suggested that we would aim to reschedule that meeting as soon as possible, obviously. The proposed meeting on the 20th of September for yourself, Chair, and members of the subcommittee to visit South West Acute Hospital is still confirmed and in the diaries. So it's really just to notify you of the postponement of next week's subcommittee meeting, but we will be working to get it scheduled as soon as possible.
Okay. Great. So page 3, so we're on page 4, so item 4.3, and Councillor O'Reilly, I told him he could speak first on this, but need to come in that, Alison. Okay, so we'll go to Councillor O'Reilly first.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, can I welcome the fact that an issue was raised last month and that we have actually got responses promptly. And I'd like to pay compliment to both organisations for returning correspondence in a timely manner. I think that nowadays is something that we shouldn't have to highlight, but I think is very necessary to highlight, given over the last number of years the untimely amount of time that elapses between us putting a request for information and sometimes getting it. Chair, that said, this was an issue that was brought up by tourism providers to me, that car rental insurance premiums were more for travelling to the north, and it was certainly having an added impact on people travelling here. And of course, we rely quite heavily on domestic market from the one end of this island to the other to be able to bring customers to the thriving tourism providers that we have in our council area. And anything that is impeding that, I think it's a duty of this council to raise it and try and find solutions. So we've been directed to the Car Rental Council to send some correspondence to them and see what avenues they might suggest that could be looked at to deal with this. And then from cross-border
studies.
The what's the name of it?
Centre for Cross-Border Studies.
The Council for Cross-Border Studies, that's right. Anthony has suggested there the work that they have been doing, and that they are willing to come and give us a presentation with the data that they have collected specific for this council area. So I would propose, Chair, that we action both of those suggestions and write back, and also take the opportunity to invite the Centre for Cross-Border Studies here and to be able to give us that presentation. We hear each month in the FLT the statistics, NISRA statistics and so forth. So there's a bit of a divergence between some of the statistics that's used to measure how successful tourism is here in the Fermanagh and Omagh Council area. Notwithstanding that, Chair, it is recognised that tourism is our #1 economic driver here and has the potential to do much, much more. So for us to be au fait with all of the data and to be able to look at any avenue that is impeding tourists coming to this council area, I think it's very important that we do that as soon as we can.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring the Chief Executive in there before I bring Councillor McConnell.
Chair, it's just very briefly on that latter point. I did engage directly with the centre. So it's just to note there would be a nominal cost because some data extraction will be required, but approximately £250 in total for the briefing paper, the presentation and engagement with members, which is very nominal. But just to perhaps include that in Councillor O'Reilly's proposal, if he's content, please, Chair.
I'm happy to include that, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And bring in Councillor Stephen McCann.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Happy to second the proposals there from Councillor Riley. And in terms of the cost, I think it's definitely, for such a small fee, it's money well spent. And in terms of the correspondence back from the centre, it's really productive, really useful. So welcome that and the second Tom's proposal.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. I think we as a council could do well to raise our awareness about the Centre for Cross-Border Studies and also the North-South Ministerial Council Secretariat, the work that they do, based in Armagh, two very important players in policy shaping. And I think we should just, in the same way that we engage the University of Ulster on economic matters like our economic strategy, we need to be paying attention to the data that they're producing about obstacles to cross-border mobility, for example, in respect of employment or other matters. Tourism promotion, car insurance, premiums, all those issues, they're there for a reason, those bodies. And maybe the Chief Executive could comment on her knowledge or otherwise of those bodies, the Centre for Cross-Border Studies, and the value of us having a working relationship with them.
Okay, before I bring the Chief Executive in, I'm going to close down the insurance thing because I think you've slightly diverged there, Councillor McElduff. So are we all happy with Councillor Thomas O'Reilly's proposal, seconded by Stephen McCann, that we engage the Centre for Cross-Border Studies to provide a report to us and the fee? Okay, thank you. So I bring the Chief Executive in to comment on your matter, Barry.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I thought firstly Councillor McElduff was going to recognise another neighbouring county with sporting success recently when he mentioned Armagh. But in terms,
Chair, please speak through the Chair.
in terms of the two organisations, firstly, Chair, I suppose the North-South Ministerial Council specifically operates on certain agreed matters of cross-border cooperation and would have oversight of the relevant cross-border bodies, including, for example, Waterways Ireland, Lochs Agency, SEUPB, specific remit, for example, around tourism, cross-border transportation, and operates both in plenary form and also in terms of subcommittees. It's serviced by civil servants from both sides of the border and is, as Councillor McElduff has indicated, headed up by joint secretaries who I'm sure would be very happy to give members a presentation on the detail of their work and opportunities perhaps in which the Council could engage formally through bilateral and other measures. The Centre for Cross-Border Studies was established really first of all through the auspices of Queen's, probably more than 20 years ago now, I suspect, but it is looking at all matters relating to cross-border cooperation, primarily on the island of Ireland, but also looking at expertise from other international jurisdictions as well. It's predominantly research-based and is based but very much on a practical focus. So I know Councillor McElduff referenced cross-border mobility. That would be certainly their underlying ethos. And I know from previous engagement, certainly with the centre, that they too would welcome, I think, the opportunity for engagement. So if I'm interpreting correctly, Chair, that we would have the specific remit and brief for the tourism piece, but then that we would separately arrange a briefing from the centre on their work programme and again maybe areas of particular interest for the Council.
Okay, so you've heard that Councillor McElduff proposed the correspondence, the meetings basically, and seconded by Councillor Coyle. We're all happy with that? Great, thank you. So item.
And Chair, just if I may then on item 4.4, just before you leave that page, to advise members in terms of the Dalradian public inquiry. So over the summer, essentially over August, the procedure now appears to have been clarified between the PAC and the Northern Ireland Environment Agency and DAERA. So the water abstraction licences process reopened and the Council made applications to that process as per previous Council agreement. So there's still no update though on the revisions to the timetable. If I remember correctly, Chair, the closing date for the licence applications was last Friday, just at the end of August.
So proposer to note and second, Councillor Deehan and Councillor Stephen Donnelly. Thank you. So page 5, and again, go to the Chief Executive here.
Chair, I know there'll be correspondence on this page that members will wish to discuss, but just to advise, the meeting that had previously been scheduled with the Dáire Minister for the 29th of August unfortunately was cancelled due to urgent Assembly business. However, a new date has been proposed of Thursday the 12th of September from 1:15 to 2:15 p.m. in Caffrey here in Enniskillen. So if that suited the Agriculture Liaison Group members, Chair, we'd recommend that that would be accepted. And subject to that then, Chair, you may wish to move on to the correspondence.
Okay, I'm going to just look to see if, rather than change the speakers, if somebody could indicate that they're happy that we meet on, Anthony's happy that we meet, and Seamus is second on that, Councillor Seamus Green. Councillor Anthony Feely and Councillor Seamus Green. And then the Chief Executive is going to, no, or we'll just let Seamus speak. I think Seamus wants to speak on the letter from the Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I'm wanting to comment on the letter from the Minister. Seldom I be made speechless, but this letter almost did it. I genuinely don't know what planet or what environment or what part of the world the Minister of Agriculture is from when he talks about ground conditions have generally improved sufficiently to allow most farmers to make good progress this season. It defies belief. We live in a council area that agriculture is our biggest industry. Anybody, whether they're connected to agriculture, and most people are, whether it's themselves or family members or whatever, anybody in this council area knows that there's a crisis going on in farming, that second cuts, third cuts aren't able to be put in. Farmers has their cattle in for the last 2 to 3 weeks, eating up their winter fodder. This crisis was seen when I wrote to them first at the end of April, again in June, again in July, and again last week, pointing it out to them. And I had also emailed him as well, and he had sent me something similar to this letter. And when I seen it, my response to him was that if that's what he thinks, maybe he does need to take a long look in the mirror and ask himself, is the Department of Agriculture Minister really the post for him, if this is what he truly believes? There is another part of it says there is no evidence of widespread issues. I don't think he has ever come to Fermanagh yet. There's no evidence of it. All you have to do is look out the window every day of the week and you can see evidence of it. So it defies belief. And his solution to the 1 or 2 farmers that was having a problem is to ring the department, and they might benefit from technical support. So I'm not so sure what that would mean. Would it be to get an umbrella or something? I'm not sure what technical support would be for a year like this. That is probably the worst year, if he was talking to any farmer in this area, the worst year in living memory. Now, when we take this into account, and the farmers in the south are now looking for their 3rd severe weather payment, while the further north you go, as we all know, the weather usually be more in climate. We haven't got any. When we asked him, had he looked for any help on the monitoring round, he said no. There was no need. There was no need to help hill farmers. and there was no need to look for money to help farmers who lost 47% of their income last year and predicted to lose another 40% of their income this year. It just defies belief. And I'm glad he's coming down finally to Fermanagh so that I'll be able to put these points to him. And as chair of the Agriculture Committee, I'm tempted to relinquish that position that day, because as chair, I don't think I'd be able to grill into the meeting as well as I would as an ordinary member. So I'll leave it at that. I'm just baffled at that letter.
Thank you, Seamus. Councillor Anthony Feely.
Yeah, thanks. I'll not waste any time. I just agree with everything that Seamus said there, and I'm very disappointed that he had no plans to reinstate the ANC payment as well, you know, so just be looking forward to the meeting. At least he's coming down that we haven't to travel up, so I'll just propose to note the correspondence. Yeah.
Thank you, Anthony. And Councillor Josephine Dean.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And there's no doubt, Chair, that our farming community really is extremely challenged by the severe weather and by other issues as well. I think the Minister has expressed himself willing to discuss these issues, and it's good that the meeting has been rescheduled for the 12th of September. Unfortunately, Chair, I'm not available that day, so I'll have to give my apologies. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you happy to second the noting, if you don't mind? Okay, thank you. And next, go to Councillor Paul Robinson.
Yes, Chair. I agree with the speakers earlier, what they were saying about the weather. It's been very bad. I know farmers are sitting with half the bits of silage used already. I was talking to a man the other day, and he hadn't even got his first cut of silage even completed. And he says he'll not get it. And to read that letter, I think it's a disgrace to come out with that kind of stuff to us down here. I think we have a right lot of our members of the MLAs or in the Agriculture Committee. I think we should ask for a meeting with them. I think there's 5 of them from this from Manoma and South Tyrone not there on the Agriculture Committee. I propose we get a meeting with them.
Yeah. If Seamus is seconding that, so are we happy enough to go with that proposal? We write to the MLAs that are in is it middle West Tyrone and Fermanagh South Tyrone, the MLAs that are on the Agriculture Liaison Committee. Seamus, I'm going to let you in there quickly.
Just would it be a possibility that we could actually meet the Agriculture Committee down there and make a presentation to them as a committee rather than just the individual MLAs from this area?
Yeah, that's something. Are you happy with that, Paul? We go down that line as well. Okay, and we are, the rest of us happy that we go. That's the line we take. Okay, thank you, everybody. Next. Page 6.
So, Chair, just to say we have correspondence back from the Department for Infrastructure. This is really into the verge management arrangements and the cutting arrangements. So you'd have seen from the letter, Chair, no real plans for those arrangements to change in relation to the grass cutting programme. And the Minister does say that if there are any particular concerns regarding sightlines, to notify the local section offices. And a separate letter was also received then, Chair, about the A5, the A5 diner, but you may deal with that one separate.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Chair, the correspondence from the Minister doesn't really fill me with a lot of hope that the grass cutting will change drastically. But maybe my understanding at least is that this is a contract service that is given out and that they work in a phase. So they start somewhere and work towards. Now, I'm not sure if they ever start in Erne East and work to somewhere else, but we seem to be in the Erne East area at any rate, some of the last cutting to be done on each cycle. And so I'm looking to see, can we write back to either the local office, if we think it's the local office that would have the call on this, or whether it is more centrally administrated, to see can we get a rotation of where the cuts are started. Because my understanding is it takes about 3 weeks or more to do a cycle. And if you're at the end of that each time, yes, the first guys are getting it done fairly promptly at the start of the thing. And if you're at the end, it's a month's worth of growth that you've encountered. So maybe there would be something to change it around a little bit to sort of not have the same areas always at the high growth by the time the cut comes.
Yeah, well,
And I know the
obviously
correspondence. Yeah.
I get mine cut first.
Yeah.
So I'll just declare that
No.
mine's cut first, and
This-
then saying how far he can go, and I think he's going at the moment. He's covering right the way up to Auckland.
Yeah.
So
it be a long time to get to.
yeah. So
early.
you're well down the line.
That's right.
Councillor Green. Oh, sorry, Councillor Campbell.
Well, Chairman, I admire your honesty.
Yeah.
Wouldn't expect anything else, obviously. I suppose in terms of the grass cutting, I don't think people have really, any of us have much appreciation on how the whole thing works. And there doesn't seem to be, some roads are obviously have a higher priority than others. But I think, I have written to the section office in the last week in relation to that. There are roads that residents just feel are being neglected, So I suppose I wait the response on that. And I would note the correspondence here from the Minister O'Dowd, as Councillor Riley said earlier, has been very, has been prompt. The A5 Dana resurfacing and the road cutting were obviously raised at the end of July, the 25th of July meeting. So I welcome the response. But roadside verges was mentioned there, verge management, but I suppose an important part of the verge is also the structure of the verge, and I've been raising that with our local section office. I think, I don't know if other councillors have noticed, but more and more there's cones along the sides of roads marking sort of verges that have given way, like in Corkhill Road and Eskra, and, just like sheer drops at the edge of like Tullacunny Road and Tallyray. So I think, there's not the money there at present, but I think that road service do need to look at vesting ground. Vehicles have got bigger, agricultural vehicles in particular. And, there is solutions to some of these problems. Shinera Road's another road that frequently sees heavy vehicles and other vehicles, delivery vehicles, go off the road, in fact. So if it wasn't for local farmers getting them, there'd be a lot more disruption, but a lot of these things happen and there's not much said about them, but the verges are really a big concern on a lot of our roads. And that's something that I've raised, and I suppose I'd wait for the response, but I think it's something that I would urge others to do as well. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. And next to go to Councillor Robert Irving.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll not go into the rural roads because I think some of the previous councillors already highlighted the problems, and whilst we can talk about cut budgets and everything like that, there has to be a balance somewhere along the line with regard to personal safety. Because some of the verges, actually, I don't care what way they manage the route, and I don't blame the operatives that are cutting, because they're actually cutting on a contract. Some of the roads need to be cut earlier because they present a huge problem with regard to road safety. I'm going to deviate slightly and go into the DFI roads grass cutting as well, but in the confines of our urban areas. I've had several complaints in regard to the grass cutting around the signs on the entrance into both Enniskillen and Omagh. I've had complaints from constituents blaming us as a council for one, badly cutting and not maintaining. And I've had to inform them that it is absolutely no responsibility of ours. It's down to DFI roads. And I think if you take a look at some of the cutting around the entrance signs that we had criticism enough about when they were erected, but the absolute mess that I would call it agricultural field, and it should be a grass area because it is technically cut enough. It is left in a terrible state. If I actually had gone out to cut that, I would give up and hold my hands up. Whoever cut it should be ashamed of themselves. They cut it at the wrong time and they left it in an abominable state and they haven't even finished the job. And we have enough complaints in regard to tourism entrances to our major urban areas. And for actually another department to come along and make a mess of it and then not try and rectify it within the case. That grass was cut at least 2 to 3 weeks ago and nothing has been done to actually go back and try and sort it out and do something. So I think we as a council, when we see DFI roads that we're talking about in the special council meeting, need to lambast them. And our press need to realise it's not our responsibility. It's another department's responsibility. We're not responsible for the mess, but we're trying to get it cleaned up. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and Councillor Seamus Green.
Thanks, Chair. Just on the letter that went to the Minister and suggesting about Aaron East being used as a pilot study, I'm still not giving up on that. I would ask that we, and maybe we did, send it through to Daniel Healy to see would that be a doable thing to do it as a test case. If it turns out that 3 weeks earlier cut or 4 weeks earlier cut in Aaron East turns out that everybody's complaining and saying that this is complete disaster, that it's far worse than any other years, I am quite willing to put my hands up and say it was my fault, it was my suggestion, nothing to do with road service. They only followed on a suggestion I made. But I suspect that it'll be the opposite effect, that I would be proved right, that cutting it 3-4 weeks earlier would make a huge difference. So I am proposing that we do right and make that suggestion to Daniel Healy, and we continue with using me as a scapegoat and putting Aaron East as a test case for that for next year.
Thank you, Seamus. Do we have a seconder for Seamus's proposal? Oh, Councillor O'Reilly. Thank you, Thomas. Seamus, I wonder, could you, I'm going to have declared an interest in this, but the contractors would say as well that the wear and tear in their machinery is excessive because the grass is allowed to grow too long. If you would include that in your letter. Thank you. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Chair. It's just to pick up on Councillor Irving's remarks there. There is a weed called a ragweed, which the department needs to be mindful of, which requires regular cutting and maintenance to keep it under control. So maybe that could be taken into consideration.
Okay, thank you.
Chair, I'm mindful just on a couple of the comments members have noted. We do have a special council meeting coming up with DFI roads in mid-October, and perhaps it would be appropriate, like we'd obviously do the letters, but maybe to ask formally as part of that meeting for a presentation on what the arrangements actually are and try and get some clarity around the detail, because probably will be the best and earliest opportunity that we will have for the face-to-face engagement. If you're content, we'd progress that accordingly as well.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely, yeah, thank you. Do we need to? No. Okay, thank you. Two items, two matters of any other business on the A5, one from Councillor Rainey and one from Councillor Campbell. So I'm going to go to Councillor Campbell first, if you're happy enough to bring your AOB in about the A5. Okay, thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I have been contacted by a number of constituents who've raised, concerns, I suppose frustration, and indeed in a couple of cases, sort of anger at the closure of the A5 on Saturday, 31st of August. And in respect of the people that contacted me, one had been visiting somebody in the Royal Victoria Hospital, hoping to get there for 2 o'clock visiting time, and a relative with the same sort of intention only for 6 o'clock. Both were delayed on the A5 as a result of the closure. Now, it transpired that thankfully, you know, the person initially thought that there maybe was an accident on the road, but thankfully that wasn't the case. But it transpired that the closure was due to an orange parade, and really that brought, you know, a great amount of I suppose dismay and disbelief, really, that this main arterial route connecting cities, you know, Derry, connecting Donegal to Belfast and to Dublin, that it was closed. I think it was between the hours of 12 and 5 last Saturday, and I have to say I was, you know, I was shocked that that road would be closed, and people are asking me really who's responsible for making that decision. I mean, obviously, I think on the Parades Commission, you know, but people are understandably annoyed, and I would propose really we write to the Parades Commission, but also, I mean, to PSNI, and I think DFA Roads should be concerned as well in respect to this closure, and they'll obviously have been, you know, informed and at least in knowledge of what was going on, and just to see who decided it was appropriate to close an arterial route such as the A5 on these grounds. I can't think of any, you know, any reason why that route should be closed. There isn't the infrastructure to bypass it. I mean, people spent an hour and 20 minutes covering, you know, a distance that would have been travelled in 15 minutes, you know. There isn't the infrastructure to bypass the current A5, which itself isn't fit for purpose, and it just caused absolute chaos for too many people. And I'd be concerned as well that, you know, would an emergency services vehicle have got through? Perhaps it would have, but I mean, I'd be concerned about that. And would it have put people at risk? You know, people in the emergency vehicle, people in an ambulance, or indeed people attending the Orange Parade as well. You know, I mean, it just does not add up, and I would want answers to that from the Parades Commission and the PSNI, and I'd also propose we write to Road Service. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. I actually got caught up on that myself. I was attending an event in Beera with the Ulster Scots group, and I also spoke to the organisers of the event in Beera, and they were dismayed as to why the road was closed because it hindered their event as well. So I could see no logistical reason why the A5 would have been closed to do with that event. But we'll carry out that correspondence.
Chairman.
Just, okay, Councillor, I'm just looking for somebody to second because this is actually AOB, so all I need is a second. Councillor McCann's got a second, Councillor Campbell's, and then I'm bringing Councillor Rainey in.
Hello, Chair.
AOB matter.
I suppose I was really concerned as well about the situation that turned up out of the blue on the A5 on Saturday. I was one of those who was organising the demonstration, or part of the demonstration, part of the organising committee for the demonstration in Beera. And a number of our guests that were travelling from Castlederrick to Devon the area couldn't get through because they got caught up in this queue of traffic. And it all transpired that it was, they had set up a checkpoint at Crawford's Bridge to divert the traffic through via Aughar, that they would avoid the Ballygolly roundabout, the old Ballygolly roundabout, because there was a demonstration in Ballygolly. And that seemed to be what the holdup was. And they didn't seem to even have the flexibility to allow the buses that are going to go to Beera, including yourself, the Chairman, you got diverted some other route into Beera. But there seems to there seems to be the responsibility amongst the PSNI whenever they arrive on the scene. However, they are previously briefed that they take on themselves to interview individual vehicles on the A5, my goodness gracious, the number of vehicles that there are, there develops a queue a mile long and in no time at all. And that's very frustrating. Did I hear someone saying that they were in the queue for an hour and a half or whatever? That's unbelievable. Believe it or not, they set up the same operation on the homeward journey in the evening to divert the traffic via Aucher to avoid the parade that was taking place in and around the old roundabout at Ballygall. So, yeah, something really needs to be done. I honestly believe we could leave that at the feet of the PSNI. They seem to be those who put it into operation. Whoever they take their instructions from, of course, then they need to be briefed and told to wise up that this is the A5 we're dealing with. Now, I want to say, Chair, also that last council meeting, and if you'll allow me to make a comment on it, I did raise the issue of the resurfacing of a patch at the A5. And believe it or not, they've done it this afternoon. Now, they were riding it pretty close to the tail. And yes, the minister did send us a letter, and he's going to spend £1 million and plus. And I'm not too sure whether he spent it on our section of the road or not. But our chief executive, you were really able to press the button and deliver the goods, and I have great faith in this council, because as individuals, as the minister said, we should be lobbying as individuals, but we've been lobbying for 2 years and achieved nothing, and you were able to turn it around in a month, so well done. The people at the A5 filling station will be really glad to see this improvement.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rainey, are you happy to, there's correspondence there around that, are you happy to note it?
Beg your pardon?
There's correspondence there. You
Well, of course.
Okay, thank you. These matters that have been raised under AOB. So it's only the person who raised it, and then I'm looking at seconders. So Councillor Thompson.
Here, I'm happy to second it, but it just was a relevant matter tied in with it all. I also attended the event in Beira. It was just for Councillor Campbell's information. It's a Royal Black Institution. It was organised, the event in Beira and Ballygolly, and a lot of the buses got through early in the day, but as it went on, the checkpoint, for some unknown reason, stopped every vehicle, and it held it all up, even in Beira, and obviously in Ballygolly too. It's not acceptable. And a related matter, it also happened on the 10th of August, going into Londonderry at the Apprentice Boys annual event, and all buses and cars were stopped going into the city. And for some unknown reason, I think it's coming at a very high level within the police service in Northern Ireland, that it has affected the two council areas, if you like, Fermanagh, Omagh, and also Derry City and Strabane District Council area as well. So there's something more that has to be looked into. It's probably at a higher level than we're dealing with in ops planning here in this area. So maybe I'm happy to support whatever's been said here today by Councillor Campbell and Councillor Rainey. Thank you.
Thank you. And your second noting of the correspondence around the A5. Thank you. Councillor Robinson, briefly.
I was at the Ballygolly parade, and the roundabout was only closed on one side. The traffic was to filter through on the other side of the road, coming from Omagh and coming from Aucher or Ballyauchnatloi. There's only one side of the roundabout closed. It was the police that stopped the traffic. There was also somebody took a heart attack at the parade earlier in the day, and the helicopter had to come. So they closed the road completely and held up the whole parade taking place. The buses couldn't get in. So it's not down to the police what they were at. I don't know what they were playing at.
Okay. Thank you, Paul. Councillor Anne-Marie Fitzgerald, quickly, please.
Yes, I also want to say I did witness it at first hand going past, and I'll not say how I witnessed it, but I went past in another work episode. But do you know what? It was shambles, it was chaotic, and it was a very well attended event, you know what I mean? And it was a lovely day, and it was good to see so many people out at it. But maybe perhaps the location was just not the right location, sitting a field right at the roundabout, you know what I mean? Maybe it was not the right venue for such a large event of that scale, because the cars were parked everywhere. What I mean everywhere, they were up around each side of the road. They were in fields adjacent to it. They were across numerous, not on the roundabouts, but they were sort of connecting between the two roundabouts. They were parked in two fields, which people had to cross over the roads. To me, it was just not a well organised event, large numbers, and you know what, the weather was just amazing. And then till put on top of that, the closure of one side of the roundabout. It was just pure and utter chaos. And somebody had said that it was hospital appointments. There was people trying to attend weddings, going to wedding receptions. You know, for a main road at this day and age with such huge connectivity from the north to the south, from Derry straight through to Atnacloy, Donegal straight through to Dublin, it was embarrassing, shambolic, and a disgrace. If you asked me, it was just really, really bad. And it highly impacted on everybody's journeys, and especially those people who are even trying to attend that event. You know, it impacted them as well. So with everybody else, I just want to say, don't know what on earth took the police to block the road from so far down the road. It was a horrendous day, and the queues of cars coming from that Atnacloy end was just horrendous as well. So that was my view of it.
Okay, thank you, Anne-Marie. Seamus, quickly.
Yeah, it's really quickly. It's just in relation to something Alan said. There's a road up at Cooney, and I'm going to contact Alison now about it after the meeting. So.
Yes, I had a feeling. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so item or page 7.
Just Chair, page 7, I know Councillor Coyle just alerted you to a matter regarding Monaghan County Council and the Peace Link as well.
Okay, Councillor Coyle.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I got this invite pretty late in the day, but I spoke to Alison about it. So it's an invitation from the Peace Link in Clonus, who are celebrating their 10th anniversary celebration on Friday, the 20th of September, at 11:30 a.m. at the Peace Link. And I know the Minister Heather Humphreys and sporting celebrities and that are going to be present, and they asked me to pass this on to yourself as Chair of the Council and the Vice Chair, and all councillors here are invited, not just the Ernies, but all councillors, if they wish to attend, would be welcome. And I think they need the numbers by the 12th, but I'll forward that on to you. And
thank you very much. I'll have to check my diary, but I mean, I know how extensively used, especially from Monaghan-based teams, the Peace Link Centre has been a massive resource for them when adverse weather here has prevented the use of their own pitches. So,
and can I just add, Chair, you know, with the forum closing down for refurbishment in the future, you know, the Peace Link, especially for people in the Ernest area, would be that, you know, it would be a really good facility for them to use that, you know, a bit more often. And I was chatting to one of the committee members there, and they was, you know, more than happy to kind of, you know, work with that as well.
okay, so you've heard the invitation, councillors. It'll be circulated shortly, but so you can save the date in your calendars.
Chair, may I just check then if members are content, I think, just to allow for the Peace Link of the arrangements, if we would know by the 10th, which would be this day week, for notifications to Democratic Services, please. And if members are content, then we take that as an approved duty for any member who wishes to attend. But,
yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Councillor McAuliffe.
Yep. Around the same time, I think it's the next day, it's just to bring people's attention to it, not to solicit invites. I think it's the official opening of Monaghan Peace Campus as well. And if anybody isn't aware of Monaghan's Peace Campus, it's the most fantastic civic building If you were designing a civic building, you would design it the way this Peace Campus is designed. There's a county museum in it. There's a library facility in it. Foróige, the youth organisation, is based there. And I think in its first week of operation, it really caught the imagination of the people in Monaghan, and 5,000 people visited it. It's like a magnet for young people to meet each other and to study and to use the facilities there, like the library. It's just a fantastic building, and I would recommend people drop by it if they could at any time in the future.
So, Chair, maybe if I could just specifically in relation to the Peace Campus, I have followed up directly with Monaghan County Council as per the agreement at the last meeting, and I know they are going to be writing to us formally, but that was certainly one of the suggested venues as part of the tour for the council to County Monaghan, and a discussion around a wider cooperation. I know also the canal, Ulster Canal regeneration in Clonus, and a few other places had also been identified. We're just waiting for the formal details of that.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Just in passing, Chair, to note the 10th anniversary of the PeaceLink. I was Vice Chair on the building of that project, and certainly it has proved very beneficial as it was designed to bring people together through sport. And that has worked very well on a cross-border level as well, to engage with Maravilli Football Club, having it as their home base, which is a brilliant recommendation of the quality of the PeaceLink. Chair, I remember, if memory hasn't failed me totally, that last month I had brought up the issue of the museum opening in, and we were to follow up there for an invite specifically to that. I'm not sure if that's the same day as the main building, but
Chair, I'm not sure, but I did speak directly to the Chief Executive on that, and as I understand, an invitation will be forthcoming. Nothing has been received as yet. Together then with a wider itinerary for the engagement between the Council corporately and Monaghan County Council on areas of potential cooperation.
And Chair, there is an invitation, just making Council aware, I think I did at the last meeting, of the tourism offices through FLT, that we're trying to get the 3 tourism offices to meet there. So I don't know if that's progressing or how that's sort of going.
Sorry, Chair, so we did that through the offices of the Council as a proposal from Councillor O'Reilly for you last month?
I did that one as well. I keep forgetting how good I am, Chair, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm doubling up there. I have both organisations at it. I must let Leo know that. Maybe that could be coordinated, Chair, just so that either the Council soon. Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Page 7, page 8, 9, page 9, Councillor Deacon. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Just in reference to agenda item 13, the Strathroy Community Association Anniversary Gala Ball. Chair, as you and I discussed on our way into the meeting, I had the privilege of attending the Strathroy Community Association anniversary, 50th anniversary Gala Ball, and what an event that was. It was a real privilege to be there, Chair. I think the whole week of celebrations to mark the 50th anniversary of the establishment of the Strathroy estate in Omagh was a momentous landmark. 50 years developing the Strathroy community, which is a vibrant and strong community, and going from a greenfield site, building those houses, building the community centre, building the church, building the primary school. Now, more recently, we have the connection with the Riverside Walk, the Strathroy Link Road, and so on, and the proximity to the Struhl Education Shared Education Campus. The community is going from strength to strength. And I want to thank and pay tribute to the organising committee who organised a superb week of celebrations of that momentous occasion. And I wonder, Chair, I know that Councillor McColgan, as Chair, played a very important role in pulling all of that together, supported by a very hard-working team. It was particularly gratifying that a former employee of the Council, Michael Kelly, was honoured specifically for the work which he carried out over many years together with his late wife Anne, and he had a special award and special recognition, which I was very pleased to see, and I do want to congratulate him on that. So I just would like to propose, Chair, if you would write a letter of congratulations to the organising committee expressing our thanks and admiration and congratulations on a very successful week of celebrations. Thank you.
Thank you, Josephine. Yeah, it was a great evening, and I enjoyed myself thoroughly. And very, very poignant to see a community come together and staying together for 50 years. So, Councillor McElduff.
Chair, it was a great celebration, and I would join with Councillor Deehan in paying particular tribute to Strathroy Community Association, and not least Councillor Martin McColgan, who is the chair of the Community Association there. And there was the most fantastic celebration of community. And, you know, I feel like telling you all about the It's a Knockout on the Wednesday night. Such community spirit. There was 300 to 400 people there. And I mean, even to watch it, it was unbelievable. Mark Colton would have stayed there to 5 a.m. rather than lose that dodgeball contest with Arlo O'Neill. And wasn't it down the park versus up the park? And I won't say which one headed home on foot shouting Championes, but it went on all evening. And it was real old-fashioned community spirit, you know, and community fun. And one of those teams won the challenge 3-2, but I won't say which one it was. But they did dodgeball, three-legged race. I felt the straps were a bit loose in one of the teams. Wet water challenge and tug of war and walk the plank. You know, it was a really, really fantastic event. And that was only one of the events. The Gala Ball, you yourself addressed the Gala Ball, Chair, and a fantastic celebration of community. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Marty, I'm going to let you in here.
Thank you, Chair. Just to obviously declare an interest in the item, to thank the councillors for their kind words. It was an amazing week and an amazing night at the Gala Ball. And I'm not trying to take credit for it, but I will pass your congratulations on to the organising committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Chair, page 9 there, just the tourism conference. I'm just wondering how that's progressing. Towards autumn,
I will be bringing a report, but I don't as I mentioned previously at the meeting, I don't think anything is feasible in autumn, given the lead-in time and the existing events that are in the diary. There's already a couple of significant tourism events in October, so I think it's much more feasible to plan for early spring, but I will be bringing a report to that effect.
Okay, thank you, Alison. So we were at page 10.
Just an item of correspondence, item at 14.2 there, a response from the Department for Communities. This is in relation to the Council's previously adopted motion in relation to support for Fermanagh and Omagh Women's Aid.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I'll note the correspondence. I know supporting communities, that is what they fund. They fund the accommodation, and that's to be welcome. It's sad that they have to fund so much across the Fermanagh and Omagh area, but that's the need and the rate of domestic violence in our area. And I suppose it was really the other two departments that we were really looking for support for, Women's Aid, but they're coming in to do a presentation, so I'll leave it until they've done their presentation before making any other comments. So just to note the correspondence. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, so I'm looking a seconder to note that. Councillor Josephine Deacon, thank you. Page 10, page 11.
Thank you, Chair. Just item 14.3. This we have a number of items of correspondence here in relation to the council's representations regarding the potential for the council to be included within Ireland's hidden heartlands. So we have a response. I'll just list the responses first, Chair, and summarise them. We have a response from Tourism Northern Ireland, the Department for the Economy from the Minister, from Tourism Ireland, Fáilte Ireland, and then in your other correspondence folder, the third item is from the Department of Transport, Sport, Tourism, so on in the Irish Government. So in summary, Chair, all of the letters are identifying, well, other than Fáilte Ireland, which sets out, I suppose, its responsibilities and it doesn't have any direct role within this, but the others are identifying the opportunity, the potential, a willingness to keep the council updated and engaged. And really the first stage in the process appears to be the establishment of a working group, which hasn't happened yet. And the Chief Executive of Tourism Northern Ireland has indicated that as soon as that meeting happens, he will be in contact to advise the council of the proposed next steps. So really just noting for the variety of letters, Chair, but there may also be some further action suggested.
Okay, thank you. First, Councillor Dermot Bryan.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to happy to propose to note the correspondence and really just to welcome the contents of the letter. I think that's some very positive sounds coming from the various tourism bodies. You know, this initiative initially came from a motion that I proposed at the start of the summer. So good to see some progress on this one. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Thanks, Chair. While I welcome the positive sounds that we're getting from the various organisations there and the idea that this working group will be set up, I would propose, Chair, that we actually write and look for a place on that working group. After all, this is about bringing the hidden heartlands of Ireland to Fermanagh and making the connection up. And I think it's only right that while it'll be primarily these larger tourism organisations with the departments that will be no doubt manning the working group, that Fermanagh and Omagh should have council representation there of an officer and a member at least on that working group to balance it out, as it were, and to make sure that our interests from the Fermanagh Omagh tourism point of view is well represented on the working group.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Anthony, Councillor Anthony Philly.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'll second Thomas's proposal, and I totally agree with him that Fermanagh and Omagh should be represented on that working group. It's good to see the conversation has started about the hidden heartland, and I just want to thank my colleague Dermot for bringing the motion to council, and it's good to see it processing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's what I was looking for. Are we all agreed with Councillor O'Reilly's proposal? Agreed, yeah. I must say, I was at an event in the Caves, and there was 2 representatives of Hidden Heartlands who had made an impromptu visit. I didn't get speaking to them long because they were immediately called for their tour below ground, and I didn't want to keep them back from that. So, but they are starting to take an interest in what we have in our area.
Thanks, Chair. Just then at item 14.4, at last month's meeting, it was agreed that we would accept the offer of a meeting with the Minister for Infrastructure regarding St Lucia, and this is to be on the 2nd of October at 11:30 in Belfast. And it's just to confirm the delegation, please, Chair, for that visit. And we would arrange a pre-meeting in advance as well.
Okay, so we were to fix a date, and
we have the date. It's the nominations now to attend.
Okay. So we're looking nominations to attend. Councillor McElduff.
Here to get the ball rolling, I'll make a proposal that can be amended, I'm sure, of a nature of a delegation. It would be one that you would lead, and you'd be joined by the Vice Chair if she was available and the 6 Omagh Town councillors. And you can amend that if there isn't enough representative nature of it, you know. Sometimes Councillor Rainey is involved in OMA matters, you know, to give it that breadth, and sometimes Councillor McGrath is involved.
Yeah,
Give
Councillor
it
McGrath
breadth,
does.
you know.
Okay. Councillor Irvine.
Very happy enough to go along with Councillor Michael Duff's suggestion. I was going to nominate Councillor Rainey anyway. He has particular interest in that area, but happy to go with the general thought that's coming through from Barry there.
Yeah.
As long as Alan's on it.
And as you said, Councillor Michael Duff, I know he's not here, but Councillor McGrath has indicated as well.
Happy to second that.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Irvine. Councillor Deegan.
Thank you, Chair. Well, this is a really important issue and an important meeting, but unfortunately I am not able to attend owing to work commitments, Chair, so I have to give my apologies.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. Councillor Adam Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, apologies for my lateness into the meeting, and I was told that you had some congratulations, so thank you for that as well. Just to propose Councillor McGrath for that meeting, if possible, Chair. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's included. Yeah, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I believe I was nominated at the previous council meeting for that delegation, so I'm happy enough to attend. Thank you.
Thought you would be. Yeah. Councillor Michael Duff, back to you again.
Thank you. A briefing paper would be helpful on this one. You know, that might be as valuable as a pre-meeting. Whether a pre-meeting is needed or not, I'm not sure, but we definitely would like a briefing paper on the subject of St. Lucia, the history, and the public use that we would like to see and how to achieve that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Councillor Michael Duff, you have a matter under AOB, and I think it might be appropriate under this one.
Okay, it's just a related matter, but, you know, not general in that sense. This is more specific. St. Lucia is to be the location, one of the main location sites for a US-based film, and they're expressing interest in the site. John, our director, John Boyle, and I have both been involved at various stages in helping to facilitate them, gain access to the St. Lucia site, etc. There are other sites in the Omagh area which will be used for this film as well. The film director is Jeff Marslett, and I think it's an occult film, this one here, and I can't give very much more away, you know, for commercial reasons, but I've no interest to declare myself. But I know what's going on, you know, but I can't tell you. You know, can't tell you all. But if I could just work, maybe tomorrow I'll make contact with John again. It's about arranging perhaps a Zoom meeting with.
Right. I'm glad to hear that you're going to use normal means and not some of the means that you may be discussing with the film
No
people.
problem, but give me a shout afterwards and I might tell you a wee bit, but not much. But I think they need a little bit of help. They've already been in touch with various council officers, but it's just to pull it all together. You know, Gort and Glen Forest Park might feature, Glen Park perhaps, etc., might feature in this. But they need permissions, which might mean a wee bit of conversation with the likes of Department for Communities, Historical Environment Division, and DFI for St. Lucia ourselves in relation to Gort and Glen Forest Park. But if I could get the willingness from either a head of service or a director to have that Zoom meeting with the film director, and we'll leave it like that. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, if we can just have a seconder for that then, I think. Councillor Coyle, and we're all happy to go with that. Okay, thank you. So, page 12. So,
I'm sorry, Chair, it's just the bottom of page 12, or maybe.
Councillor Green, I'll bring you in first there.
Yeah, it was just the letter from the Minister of Infrastructure in relation to the part of about the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit outside schools. And I was just looking back on some of the correspondence I had in the last couple of years with that would have been the permanent secretary. And I believe this review started in 2022 and we're now in September 2024. So I'm just wondering, should we write back to the Minister to see is there an end date on the review, because 2 years seems to be quite sufficient to do a review. So if we could write back to the Minister and see at what stage the review might be coming to a conclusion, it would be very helpful for us rather than having to keep writing. And I know a lot of the schools that has got them are very happy with them. I have heard that some of the lights at a few locations does have problems working on that, but I presume that's just a technical fault on that. But I have heard good reviews about them, so I would be very hopeful that this would pass a review by the department and it wouldn't end up, in a draw somewhere. It's a safety issue. It's very important, especially for rural schools and rural areas. So I'm proposing that we write and just ask when the closing date on this review would be, and looking maybe for it to be speeded up a bit.
Okay, thank you, Seamus. I'm going to bring in Councillor Mahan.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, second Councillor Green's proposal there. No issues there. And just to thank the Minister, I suppose we've written back and forth a few times and he's been quick to come back to us, so I have to congratulate him on that. I was supposed looked for these signs at some of the schools, one in Everton in particular, and from what I gather now we have to contact the officials and hopefully they can come out and assess something, even there's no policy in place. So just thank you and note the correspondence.
Okay, and there is correspondence there. Are you happy to propose the noting of it? Seamus proposing your second that. Yeah. Thank you. Councillor John Feely.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just maybe that we could maybe notify DFA rules will upcoming meeting next month, maybe that a couple of us want to discuss this further with them at that meeting as well, especially on the rules and regulations on the preschools and what they expect of us and what they can and can't do, and maybe also give us maybe a brief update on which schools got the 20-mile-an-hour signs in our area, which other schools were looking for it, and maybe their reading on how they thought the rollout happened in Fermanagh, and maybe what their feedback up to their top class was.
Okay, thank you, John. That's fine. Okay, so page 13, page 14.
Chair, just on page 14, we have received a response. It is in your the other folder. Sorry, response from the Minister for Health in relation to the Council's complaint regarding the potential breach of the Special Advisor Code of Conduct. So in essence, the Minister is advising that he's unable due to GDPR and individual privacy really to raise or provide any further clarification, but considers the matter closed from his perspective, noting the Minister's interpretation about what the code requires in terms of declarations, and also advising that it is a matter for the Council how a councillor complies with the Council's policy, though it wasn't the Council's policy, I suppose, that we had complained about, Chair. So that's the correspondence from the Minister.
Councillor Green.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I suppose in relation to that, it's a long letter that doesn't say much. So I'm just wondering on what did take place where SPAD sat in on legal advice that the Council was receiving. I don't know. I would suspect if I ever was a SPAD and I did that, I would suspect I'd be on the front page of the local newspaper. But for some reason, our local media didn't really run with it, for whatever reason. But I'm just wondering, could the Chief Executive, and I know it's almost impossible, under our own rules, did the councillor break our code of conduct? Or potentially?
Well, Chair, just in relation to the councillor code of conduct, the council itself is not the arbiter of that. It would be the local government commissioner for standards. So it would be the commissioner who would determine whether or not there's any breach in relation to the councillor code of conduct. In relation to the council's own rules and proceedings, they would relate primarily through our standing orders. So obviously one of the matters that the council had highlighted in relation to the special advisor code of conduct was the provision that a special advisor who is also undertakes local elected political activity should not serve on the committee that deals with matters relating to the managing authority. The nominations to our committees are essentially party nominations, so the council corporately wouldn't be able to intervene by way of nominations to committees. It would be a matter for the party itself to do so. It would be a matter for the commissioner to investigate if there was a breach of the councillor code of conduct as opposed to the council itself. And I suppose the only other final matter that was raised was in relation to declarations of interest. So declarations of interest is always a matter for the member in question, Chair, but certainly the advice that we have consistently received is if a member has a declaration in a matter, particularly a pecuniary interest in a matter, they should declare that. They should not engage in any discussion on the matter, and they should vacate the chamber while the matter is being discussed.
Okay. That's Stephen McCann.
Thank you, Chair. And it's further from that, just further on from what you said, Alison, as well. And I don't know if we could Philip on the line. I know it's obviously the duty of the Ombudsman to adjudicate on potential breaches of the Code of Conduct, but given the information that we know, it would be it would be beneficial if our legal advisor could give an opinion if he thought that, has the thresholds of a complaint been met in terms of what evidence that we have in front of us, in terms of sitting in on legal advice relating to his department and what other information we have. In his opinion, as our legal advisor, would he contend that the thresholds of a complaint has been met?
Sorry, apologies, Councillor Green. I didn't realise you're allowed to come back on again. I take it you had a follow-up. You asked a question.
Yes, thanks, Chair, and I'd be interested in hearing an answer of Councillor McCann's question too. Just on what the Chief Executive said there, that I think it was in our Code of Conduct and that nobody should be on a committee. Has the councillor who is a SPAD, has he removed himself from that committee? That recommendation or has he ignored that?
Sorry, Chair, just to be clear, that's not in the council requirements. It is a requirement of the Special Advisors Code that a special advisor who is also undertaking political activity, I'm not sure, I think it's detailed in Section 6, should not serve on the council committee that deals with matters relating to his managing authority. So certainly as of now, my understanding is Councillor Ovens continues as a member of the Policy and Resources Committee, which deals with those matters relating to his managing authority.
Right. Philip is available online here, so I'm going to bring you in, Philip.
Chair, I was simply going to suggest that given what Councillor McCann is asking for is legal advice in relation to matter, you may wish to leave this until we go into confidential business at a later stage in the meeting.
Okay, thank you, Philip. Okay, so we're going to pass on this item and we'll bring it back in again during confidential. So I need somebody to propose a noting of it at this stage. Councillor Feely and Councillor Stephen Donnelly. Okay. So next we go to page 15.
So, Chair, just item 15.1, a response from the Minister of Education in relation to the Council's request both for an urgent meeting but to overturn the decision in relation to the closure of Cholmondeley Primary School. And the Minister has advised that the decision now is unable to be reversed has set out the proposed arrangements for how the children's education will be managed post-closure and has declined the opportunity to meet with the council.
Councillor McNulty.
Yeah, Graham Carly. I'd just like to welcome this decision that the department has extended the school to open for an extra year. But I would like to maybe extend our support as a corporate body to the local school community. And also want to ask, was there any response from the CCMS on this?
Chair, my recollection is that we prioritise the department, so I think we haven't done anything separate to CCMS pending the response from the department. So I think on foot of this letter, we would now, if members are content, engage, because clearly there's no scope with the department to engage directly then with CCMS for that meeting and the mechanism. So I think we are awaiting the outcome from the department before we engage with CCMS.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McElduff.
I just want to thank Councillor McNulty for raising this issue, and I just want to ask a question about, in previous rural school campaigns, you know, what has the council done to be of support to rural schools? You know, I think we've had many examples. We've had Brala, we've had Tircur, we've had Gilly, we've had 5 Mile Town coming in on us as well there, St Mary's. You know, and very many other schools that we asked questions on their behalf and supported them in that way. So I'm just wondering, is there scope for any engagement with the Chummery school community in the form of an informal meeting? That type of thing. If so, I would propose that we have an informal meeting with the school campaigners to hear their concerns at first hand and to see how we can be of assistance, or at least ask the questions that they want asked. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, well, I know myself and the Iron North councillors, we worked hard for the Lack School, which has been given a reprieve. So I know we had a success there, and I'm going to bring in Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to second Councillor McNulty's and Councillor McIndoe's proposals. You know, the decision to close Chummery Primary School, it really does struggle to get the logic of it. You know, St Anthony's Primary School is at capacity. There's nowhere else for these children to go. And if children start leaving the parish or start leaving the community for education elsewhere, that's a very dangerous place to be in. It's disappointing that the Department for Education hasn't agreed to meet us, and I do understand they've been in touch with the Board of Governors, possibly extending the date of closure for another year. You know, so that could give us a chance to hear what their plan is, you know, to explain their logic for closing Chummery Primary School. But with the primary school in the town, as I say, not fit for this sort of intake from Chummery, it really beggars belief what the rationale is for closure. Thank you, Chair.
Chief Executive's just going to come in here.
Chair, just to respond to Councillor McElduff's query. So typically what we would do in such circumstances, Chair, we would engage with the school community. That might normally be through boards of governors or other representatives of the school. We would make a submission in relation to the importance of the school for the local community, making maybe reference to the wider issues around rural sustainability, which members have always highlighted here, and also maybe drawing attention, because there have been some circumstances where ministers have been compelled by local information of the need for a school to be retained, and then obviously ask for the meetings. I think it's fair to say that typically we haven't had much success in meetings with the Department of Education because processes have either been about to start or were underway and it was deemed to be inappropriate. But certainly the school representatives in any of the previous cases have been very welcoming of the council's support and commitment. So I think that would be certainly a useful step.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, sorry, just the final item of correspondence is 15.2. It's a response from the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Hilary Benn MP, in relation to the Council's representations regarding the Legacy Act. So The Secretary of State has really set out the work he's undertaken thus far and I suppose, the phases that he needs to complete specifically regarding the legislation and the stakeholder engagement.
Councillor McCann.
Thank you, Chairman. Happy to note that correspondence. Whilst there is some positive pieces in this, there's still no definitive deadlines or timelines which what the families are looking for. Like, for example, he says there that I set out by a written ministerial statement on 29th of July that the government is committing to addressing the legacy of Northern Ireland's past in a way that can obtain the support of victims and survivors and comply with their own human rights obligations. Well, that's all been done via the Stormont House Agreement and the Stormont House legacy mechanisms. And they were agreed by the two governments and political parties way back in 2014, Chair. And they provided for two separate mechanisms to conduct independent investigations and to facilitate information recovery, with both bodies attracting broad political and public endorsement via the agreement and also the public consultation that followed. So, listen, we can't afford any. I read that and I see more delays and more delays. We can't afford any more delays. The mechanisms is there, so we need to just start seeing action.
Okay, Councillor John Philly.
Thank you, Chair. And yes, I'd actually propose we write back again to the Secretary of State and send them a copy of the Stormont House Agreement, telling them that it's ready to go. All parties have agreed on it. And tell them we won't be wasting any more time with bodies on.
Okay, looking a seconder for that. Mr. McCann.
Just to keep a second for the original noting then, Chair.
And I need a second. Are you happy to second the original noting? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So here's the proposal of Councillor John Philly, seconded by Councillor McCann. Yeah. All happy with that? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So
16, Chair, and that comes to page 16.
Page 16. Okay. Councillor Michael Duff.
Yeah, Chair, could I just take you back to page 8? And I think this is going to be helpful in the minutes. There was item 7 there, the resolution proposed by Councillor Robinson. It had been seconded by Councillor McGrath, that the Environmental Services Committee report be approved and adopted with the exception of the recommendation on page 2, item 4.1, regarding Strathroy Plainfields. I would propose now the resolution to be that it now includes the recommendation on page 2, item 4.1, regarding Strathroy Plainfields. If I can, procedurally, no?
No. Okay.
Sorry, Chair, just purely because it's been accepted as a resolution. So, but we are bringing an update on the matter to Environmental Services tomorrow night. So if there is now progress on the matter, it can be dealt with just through the normal committee route, if that's okay.
Okay. So now we're go to item 5, which is the minutes of the Planning Committee held on the 17th of July. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, and page 22. And I'm going to go to Councillor Maguire.
Gormagat, Kerley, Molum, Minturski. I propose the minutes, Chair. Gormagat.
Okay. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Thompson. Lovely, thank you. Now we'll go through that for matters arising. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21.
Sorry, Chair, just on page 21, and members of the Planning Committee will be well aware of this issue. It relates to the decision by the Department for Infrastructure to call in the Tattymoyle Wind Farm for determination, and it would certainly be the view of the Council that this is a local application and should be rightly dealt with by the Council, and we've made representations in that regard. We've recently been advised, Chair, that there will actually be a reduction in the number of turbines, which is further reason for it to be determined by the Council as opposed to by the Department. The Minister had previously said that the decision was taken prior to his appointment, and that he would revisit the matter should any new information arise. So we would certainly be of the view from an officer perspective that this is new information, and we should therefore make further submissions to the Department on the subject. So it's really that the application would be returned to the Council for determination and doesn't meet the threshold for a regionally significant application.
Yes, Thomas, I anticipated that. Thank you.
Chair, absolutely. I'm happy to propose that we actually take that course of action and seek that is returned, and that, you know, the review by the Minister looking at this in general, that such applications are left in the hands of the local areas to be able to make decisions on. That was essentially what the devolving of powers to local planning powers to local government was all about. So while there is a monetary fee involved here, the Department seems willing to avail itself of that.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm looking a seconder for that. Councillor Tommy Maguire. Okay, page 22. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next we're going to item 7.1. This is all for the delegation of powers back to committees during September 24. So we'll take them one at a time. So the first one's Environmental Services Committee, and it's to consider a draft report on the draft response to the Department of Infrastructure on the 24-25 budget EQAIA. EQAIA, that's quite difficult. So I'm looking somebody to propose that and then a seconder. So Councillor Marie Donnelly, and saw a hand over here. Councillor Earl Thompson. Second one is, we'll take these individually. Just lift them all. Okay, so the next one is for the Regeneration and Community Committee, and that's to consider the report on the Fermanagh District Council Annual Performance Report, 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, and to consider the draft response to the Department of Health consultation on policy proposals to underpin a public health bill for Northern Ireland, to consider a report on health inequalities in the food system funding, and to consider the update on the report on houses in multiple occupation. And again, we're looking at proposer Councillor Thompson and Councillor Campbell. Yeah.
Chair, just before you move to policy and resources, I do want to update and in all these cases, Chair, it's because the dates for the submission of the consultations are before the 30th of September. At last month's meeting, the Council had approved the submission of our response to the Department for Communities budget. We received notification about a reduction in kind for the civil contingencies budget. So our consultation response was updated to reflect that. It was just a couple of sentences that all councils were including, as it would run directly contrary to some of the COVID recommendations. But in relation, just Chair, sorry, to the Policy and Resources Committee, we have two additional items to the list. So I might just list these first, Chair, before you move on. So it would be the draft response for the Department of for the Economy Domestic Abuse Safe Leave, which is a closing date of the 27th of September, and the draft response to the Housing Executive Community Safety Strategy 2025 to 2030, which closes on the 30th of September, in addition to the lists already.
Okay, proposal seconder happening to Councillor Mahan and Councillor Robinson. Okay, thank you. Next, we go to the Policy and Resources Committee, and that's to consider. Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you. So, okay, so now we're going to go to correspondence, and the first item is correspondence request for local government representatives to be members of the area integrated partnership boards, and we're looking at a proposal for representatives or a representative for the council on that committee board. So Councillor Coyle.
Yeah, Tommy's not in here, so I'll do it. Yeah, Sinn Féin want to nominate Barry McElduff for that.
Okay, thank you. So we have no other nominations, so so can I have a second for that? Councillor McCann, thank you.
And Chair, just to note, and I appreciate Councillor McElduff will be aware, this is an application process, so the deadline is for this Friday, the 6th of September, for submission. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think it would be remiss of us as a council not to note that the fact that we're only being offered one place on this board, I think, is a very poor representation on the work that councillors do, that we're only allowed one person. But maybe that's for another day. Councillor McElduff.
Just at the outset, if I am successful in the application, just to commit the time, I want to take advice too from other councillors on matters. And I think NILGA made representations to ensure that there was councillor representation, and Solus may have made similar representations, that there was a democratic deficit. So even though one is not what you would want, there was nearly a situation where you had none.
Yeah, I'm going to let the Chief Executive come in here.
No, Chair, that's quite correct. And also members will be aware through the Community Planning Partnership, this is something now that's been raised through our Strategic Partnership Board on probably 3 occasions. And Councillor McElduff is correct. And I think all of the local government sector, so all of the councils, as well as NILGA, as well as Solus, expressed really quite strong concerns and reservations about the structures the process has set out. So while notwithstanding your own comments, Chair, I think it is welcome that we do now have a political representative. I also think it's welcome that there has been much greater clarity brought in the guidance around the linkages to community planning. It would certainly be our view that community planning should be the preeminent structure for any partnership working across the district, and I think it will be incumbent on the AIPBs to determine how that actually happens. We have a meeting later this month of our own Strategic Partnership Board, and I think it's something that we should consider as part of that.
Okay. Thank you, Alison. And next we go to Councillor Roof. Eddie.
Thanks, Chair. It's just a question in terms of have we anything in place, or have we any plans in place of how the meetings from this board are to be presented to the council? Is it to come to the Health Subcommittee, or have we got as far as that yet?
No, so Chair, this is actually a question I've raised with the Trust, because as I understand it at the moment, there isn't even clarity about how what the communication mechanism will be. So whether there will be, for example, a shared communique, whether the papers, notes, all of that will be shared routinely. As I understand it, following the application process and the selection process of members, the department is moving quite quickly into a training session and almost building capacity and team building. And I think one of the things, and I would know Councillor McElduff will take on board if successful, is that we do need to work out what those reporting mechanisms are. There was some suggestion that the Public Health Agency may actually act as the main conduit for information. And I think that will be through community planning, and then that to us would be through regeneration and community. But I think there is a legitimate query as to whether this would be a standing item, for example, on our health subcommittee meetings, but it is a bit premature.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Coyle.
When I was reading through the papers, Alison, it said one for the Western area. So basically, is it, so we might not get one at all and it's likely to be Derry?
No, Chair, we get council. There will be one per council. So within the Western Trust,
okay,
so there'll be Derry and Strand, there'll be Fermanagh and Omagh, there will also be Causeway Coast and Glens, because they share a little piece as well of the trust. So yes, but I think what this is all based on population health data. I think what's going to be very apparent quite quickly is the very different health profiles in the two sectors and the very different challenges that will present. So no, we will, so all 11 councils will have one rep on the AIPB that's relevant to their district.
Okay, thank you.
And there's no pressure on Barry. Okay, so next we go to item 8.2, which is the reply on the derails. Is that from Logan? That was the reply to your Councillor Robinson. Sorry, Paul.
Happy to note, but I'm disappointed with the letter. Say nothing more than.
I thought you had more to say.
No, no point.
Thank you. A seconder to note that. Councillor Crawford. Next item is the reply on the from the Minister of Construction. So that's the removal of contentious flags and signs. Looking, somebody proposed to note that. The correspondence on the proposer and seconder to note Councillor John Feely and Councillor Adam Gannon. The next one is the Information Commissioner's Office, and that's regarding our complaint around the adoption of properties and the disclosing of the information. Again, I'm looking at proposer and a seconder. Councillor Robinson and Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. No. Okay, so the future rural development funding correspondence. I'm looking at somebody to propose that and second it. The noting. Councillor John Feely, Councillor Paul Robinson. When we get to the stage where you're going to have to sit very still, because if anybody moves, you're going to be. So the next one's from the Courts and Tribunals Service, and that's the increase in court fees from the 1st of October 2024. And there's Councillor Robinson's hands moved, and Councillor Gannon there, his hands moved as well. Thank you. Second, proposed and seconded.
Chair, you
have. Yeah. So the next we're going to folder 1, and this here's a letter from the Mayor of Derry and Strabane, Councillor Lillian Sensi Barr. Just propose I'm noting again. Councillor Crawford's proposing, Councillor Tommy McGuire's second to note. Yeah, okay. So the next one. Okay, sorry, Brett. I'll just wait to turn you on. Yeah.
Would it be a good idea to pass that for consideration to our Access and Inclusion group, which has a meeting later this week, for discussion?
Chair, certainly we could do that. I mean, I suppose we're just noting it, but if you prefer to refer it on to the committee for discussion, that could happen.
Okay. We're looking somebody to second that. Councillor Crawford. Okay. And next we're going to the next letter is from the Competition and Markets Authority. Looking.
Chair, just to say we have been making representations, and this is really regarding the insurance industry. So in summary, they're saying they're not sure if it is appropriate for them to meet with the council at this stage. They're assessing that, but if it is appropriate, it will probably be in November. So it's really just an interim response at this point. So again, just suggesting maybe it would be noted, and we'll certainly bring a further report back when we receive a more substantive response.
Proposed by Councillors Newton, Councillor Stephen McCann and Councillor Paul Robinson. Okay, and the next piece we've already covered.
Yes, that's
okay. So we're off to the NILGA thing. I think I'm going to pass you over to the Chief Executive. Gentlemen, relax, and ladies, listen carefully.
No, thank you very much. So this is a NILGA development initiative, and it's empowering women for councillors in Northern Ireland. You'll see the details, Chair, in the correspondence. It's a 4-day session in person, a combination between in-person and a virtual coaching session. There is no charge to attend, just travel costs to the venue, the first of which is in Lisburn. So this is something, Chair, that has been highlighted in NILGA's engagement with councils corporately, but also obviously their own work through their party groups and their office bearers. So I personally think it's something that we would commend to the council, and hopefully it does suit some of our members to participate.
Okay.
We need, sorry, Chair, I should say we need the details today, as the dates are 24th and 25th of September for engagement, and we did only receive notification of this yesterday.
So when would we need people to get back? Ideally today, or maybe tomorrow morning?
Chair, maybe alternatively, if it's a bit short notice, if we could put it to the Policy and Resources Committee, but with council powers, that we take nominations at that committee. With that gives people an opportunity to think it through.
Proposed by Councillor Ruth and seconded by Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. Okay. So next correspondence is from the Minister for Infrastructure about unadopted estates.
So, Chair, I suppose just two things maybe to highlight in this letter. Members might just find it a bit disappointing. This was the letter that we had written to the Executive Office, so it's been referred to the Department for Infrastructure. And I suppose the whole reason for the Council deciding to write to the Executive Office was we recognise the deficiencies in DFI's legislative basis and provision. And I suppose members will also recall that earlier in the year, when there was the very high-profile instance of the apartments at Victoria Square, it was the Executive Office that convened the necessary engagements, albeit the legislation, if I remember correctly, was ultimately brought through the Department for Communities. So I suppose the letter is telling us about what we know, the legislation in DFI is insufficient. This was about actually bringing in new legislative provision to protect the purchasers of properties and require developers to undertake the work.
Okay, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd propose to note the correspondence. I've had dealings with DFI myself in relation to a couple of unadopted estates, and I know they are working to try and resolve issues with homeowners there where the developers have basically become bankrupt or whatever. So it's a difficult fix for the legacy estates, but I do think moving forward, if something proper could be put in place, that maybe this situation won't arise again, because it leaves the people can't sell their homes. If an estate isn't adopted, it's a major issue for people that are in this situation. So happy to note.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Chair, well, I second the noting of the correspondence. I think it's shameful that there is no new legislation being looked at here. Certainly going back over 20 years, we have had this problem of unadopted estates, and I think it was in the Fermanagh District Council time even, we were assured that there was a specific unit within DFI or road service then to address and look and to progress these unadopted estates. This is more than just an inconvenience for people. This is really drastically affecting people's lives. And while I'm dealing with one specific instance of this among many, many in our council area, I note that there doesn't seem to be any urgency from road service or from water service while it's quoted here that they have the power to make up the difference for the repairs if the bond doesn't sufficiently cover it. There's no urgency within either department to move and to get that work undertaken. So, Chair, I would propose that we actually put that in our list of discussion items for our forthcoming meeting with DFI and ask them about the amount of unadopted estates specifically at present within our council area. How many a year over the last 5 years have been successfully moved to adoption, and which other ones they are looking at being able to either work with the bond holder, or if the developer's gone out of business, with whomever has the responsibility now to be able to improve the lives. Some of these have been sitting out for 20 years, Chair, and it's not good enough that we've been promised over 10 years ago a Pacific unit to deal with it. And quite frankly, I don't see any urgency being applied.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Well, again, to be sent back this letter which outlines the ministerial position on this issue it's lost on us, because that's not what the purpose of our letter to the executive was, or at least that wasn't my understanding. I was at a public meeting with residents in Enniskillen with Minister O'Dowd, where he clearly outlined to those residents that it was ultra vires. As a minister, he couldn't put public money into a private adoption scheme. We're fully aware of that, but this, as Thomas says, it's been going on 20 years plus in some areas, and some streets and some residents in our area are suffering. There's questionable legal procedures where I was informed that those that do the conveyancing on these houses have a get-out clause after 7 years. No, it's a bigger question than just to reissue the ministerial position on ultra vires. They can't spend their money. And I thought that was the purpose of our letter to the ministerial office, that they show the same concern as we have for the residents of our area. And the list that we got a few months ago was absolutely mind-blowing. The amount of unadopted estates within our council area alone, and I'm sure every other council area has the same. And we require the executive office to appreciate that, going round in circles about the ministerial role. We're fully aware of that, but they've missed the point that we have residents in our areas with insufficient sewerage, with insufficient roads, with insufficient lighting in their estates, and they've been living in these conditions for 20 years plus. And we're all aware of them as local councillors, and we've expressed our frustration to the minister in the past. But we need to break this circle of getting this same letter back to the council area. There has to be some responsibility by the executive office for the people that live in this district. And it has to go beyond the ministerial restrictions, and we're fully aware of that. And that point needs to be made clearer to them again, Chair. It's totally frustrating. We're dealing with these people on a daily basis. Some people having to pay to get their sewerage systems emptied because it's not connected to the system. Like, it's primitive the way these people are having to live in the 21st century. And I really resent this response that's just given us the same thing over and over again. That's not the question we asked, and it's certainly not the response our constituents want, nor we as local representatives want.
Thank you, Tommy. Next we have Councillor Nellie Roof.
Thanks, Chair. I'll echo the sentiment. I'll not go over the same points. But I mean, it should be clarified to the Department of Infrastructure that we've already had the discussion about NI Water at full capacity, and that's a knock-on effect of these bonds sitting there. there's remedial work needing to be done elsewhere, and that just has a knock-on effect on the ability to build, on the ability to grow in the area. And we're already at that point now where it's having a direct effect on our actual economy in the area too. So it has to be a priority. It should have been a priority already. And the fact that we are just sitting going back and forward with the same letter is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, next we'll bring in Councillor Seamus Green.
Thanks, Chair. It really is frustrating all around because people in good faith bought houses believing that they were going to be eventually adopted by the infrastructure adopted by the relevant agencies. They got everyone buys a property, they have to have a solicitor. So obviously a solicitor was ticking off on that was going to happen, or they should have been telling them not to buy. Now, if a farmer or a farmer's son or a rural dweller, somebody from a rural area looks to build a house up a shared lane, the mortgage companies won't give them a mortgage. But in a shared development, large development, they seem very happy to fire out the mortgages to people, even though there's no guarantee that it'll be adopted. So how is the sense in that? It almost again seems rural people. Maybe it's an extra protection for them. I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but it makes no sense. So from a layperson's point of view, you'd think, that people in government and that could think outside the box and maybe bring in legislation that the big developers have to, or that when first-time buyers or buyers of a new home in a new development pays X amount, we'll say 200,000 for their house, that 20% of that's withheld from the developer until the estate is adopted. And maybe that'd be an encouragement all round for them to actually make sure that the estate or the development's adopted. I don't know, there's a lot smarter people than me that has been kicking this ball down the road for the last 20 years. And I think it's come to the time that we need to ask all our political parties to get a grip on this and get it sorted.
Thank you, Seamus. Next, go to Councillor Adam Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. And like those who've spoke before me, I completely share their frustrations and share the frustrations of the many people across this council district who are affected by this. This has a massive impact on people's lives. Simply their ability to sell their house and move. If something happened that they needed to move, they're basically locked in, they're left in that situation, not to mention the daily impacts of the poor road quality and perhaps damage to property, the very real situation where we've seen with raw sewage on streets and people having to walk and drive through it to get to and from their homes. It's beyond ridiculous where we are. And this has been building up for decades at this stage. We've seen the list, we've seen just how many places there are. And the letter references increasing bonds, and that's all well and good. But when the bond's set, generally speaking, it covered it. But by the time a developer goes and does some of the building work and eventually in many cases go bust or vanish from the scene, as happens, it's too little too late because the prices have risen, it doesn't cover it, and then the residents are left in a complete legal black hole where there's no support. It's on them, and it's a huge, massive financial cost that just lands at their door. And as has been said, they buy houses in good faith, and solicitors have a role to play here in their conveyancing of houses and in their documents draw up to try and ensure this, that ensure that there's protections for this. But even the best protections that solicitors can provide cannot account for the situation where this developer just vanishes and there's nothing behind them. There's no money to go after. There's nothing to take up in a court battle. Not to mention, if you are then to pursue them in a court, if you have that clause in your contract that you have to put down the money for that as a resident. It's beyond ridiculous. But as has been said, this is a gap in the law as far as I can see. You know, we need to think about putting guarantees in place for future and to get those people who have been left like this out of the situation, because it's huge, and that will take MLAs from all parties and across the Assembly to come together on this and to do it. I don't think maybe it isn't within the Minister's power to change the policy on this by himself, but I think it would be worthwhile for any MLA to bring forward. I think the only way it's happened is to bring forward a private member's bill that has real teeth, that's really well thought out and well written and is supported by all. And to that end, Chair, I'd like to propose that we as a council write to the MLAs, at least for across our council area in West Tyrone and Fermanagh and South Tyrone, to ask them, would they be willing to bring forward such a bill? Because everyone in here would be supporting them in that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we go to Councillor John Feely.
Thank you. I think it's much more than a private member's bill. This is cross-cutting through so many different departments and government agencies and councils as well, because we have planning responsibility now as well. This is a thing that really has to go to the executive, and I believe, and that's why this letter is so disappointed, because it was sent to the executive and came back from just one minister. Because there's other things too. Like, one of the things is I could set up a business in the morning, build 20 houses, go bankrupt, set up another business next month and build another 20 without the other things. And our planners know who's doing this, but it's not a planning consideration. They can do nothing about it, and they have to give planning then to a guy that could repeatedly do this all over our district and the next district and stuff. So there's so many different elements to this. You can ask, it really has to be took by government, all ministers sitting around discussing it, I think, myself.
Okay, thank you, John. Next we go to Councillor David Mahon.
Thank you, Chair, and I agree completely with all of the speakers went before. Just a question in relation to the meetings coming up with the department. Will there be somebody there can answer these questions, or will it be just a note taker and going to come back to us again? I don't know if we can maybe highlight them that's going to be on the agenda, if that's not already on there. That's the first.
So sorry, just on that one, Chair, note that we would, on the back of this evening's meeting, advise of the Council's wish for this to be included as an agenda item and for them to have the appropriate personnel or representatives there to be able to address the queries. As I understand it, I think the intention is one of the Deputy Secretaries, as well as the Divisional Roads Manager and the other section engineers will be in attendance. So we would include the variety of items, but we would give them early notice of this, yes.
That's great, Chair. And furthermore, Chair, in relation to the adoption of treatment plants and stuff, I'm aware of a builder that contacted me, and he is 5 years trying to get something adopted, and they keep moving the goalposts on him. So they give him a list of things has to be done. He does it, and then he can't get them back out for 6 months to check that it's been done. A lot of these things could have been done. Pumping station has to be built at the start under the development. If the department would ask it quickly, it would be adopted. But I think there's a reluctance to adopt these, because it's passing the burden of expense to them. So just to be another point I'd like to hear on that night, please, that meeting.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we had a proposal from Councillor O'Reilly to write back suggesting that what we're actually looking for is not for the department to take on the economic, but to actually tighten up the legislation. Am I correct on that? Yeah. And that was seconded by Councillor Maguire. Are we all in agreement with that? And the other matters were raised will be included and forwarded to the DFI for that meeting. So, and Councillor Gannon, I'm afraid your proposal wasn't seconded. Okay, thank you. So that concludes the correspondence, right? So I'm aware that there was a matter raised within the council, and we were given legal advice to take it into committee. And I'm aware we have 3 motions. So I'm actually going to go into the committee stage now and then hear the motions after that. If that's okay, and that's proposed by Councillor Anthony Freely, seconded by Anne-Marie Donnelly. And is that, you're happy to propose going into committee? Okay. So if you let me know when you've paused the No, it's not there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask the Chief Executive to summarise.
Yep, thank you, Chair. While in committee, the Council confirmed and signed the confidential minutes of the Council meeting held on the 25th of July and there were no matters arising. Also confirmed the confidential minutes of the Planning Committee meeting held on the 17th of July. There were no matters arising and noted correspondence from the Department of Agriculture, Environment and Rural Affairs and also received legal advice in relation to an ongoing legal matter, Chair.
I need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor Crawford and Councillor Deehan. Okay, I'm going to go to Chief. I feel that the motions need the proper time for debate. So, and I don't believe we can conclude those in half an hour. So we're going to reschedule them during the course of the meeting. So I'm going to pass quickly to the Chief Executive.
Chair, the options, there is provision in standing orders for the motions to transfer to the relevant committee, or obviously the proposers, if they wished, could carry them to the October meeting of the Council. The racism motion would go naturally to Regeneration and Community Committee, as would the Struil Shared Education Campus Committee, and the mental health would go to the Policy and Resources Committee.
So first of all, I'll go for the racism to Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. Well, I'm not too happy about that, but if I have to, then I will, but I'll have to, do I have to apply for speaking rights for that then?
Chair, what we've done before is we just would make the provision for the proposer and seconder to be able to present at the relevant committee.
Come in and do it. I don't have to come in online.
No, that's fine.
Okay, no problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Next we go to Councillor McElduff. Oh, sorry. Councillor Hayes, are you happy enough to second Councillor Coyle? Go to
Yes, I'll second that, no problem.
Sorry? Okay, thank you. Quickly.
Just obviously, I have nothing against councillors coming in to propose their motion, but does that mean anyone applying for speaking rights at any committee can make proposals going forward? Just because that would seem to be, I don't know what the provisions are in the standing orders, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, so Chair, we've covered this previously. So basically, we have already provision for any member who is not a member of a committee to seek speaking rights of a matter on the agenda. In this case, because the Council has not had time to deal with the motions, there is provision in standing orders for the motion to be dealt with at the committee. So it would not, no member who is not a member of a committee can propose a course of action, but there is scope for a proposer of a motion and a seconder to present that at the requisite committee. They wouldn't have voting rights on it. It would still be the committee members who do so.
And it would, from taking that understanding, it would have to be then proposed and seconded by someone who sits on the committee. Technically, no, that's okay. I'm just making sure. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Next, I'm going to go to Councillor McElduff and then Councillor McColgan. So, Councillor McElduff.
Happy to propose accordingly.
For RNC.
Yep, RNC, yep.
And Councillor McColgan.
Yeah, happy with that.
Okay. Next, we go online for Councillor Warrington and Councillor Armstrong, and you're going to P&R.
Yeah, happy enough that it goes to P&R. Obviously, I don't think there'll be a problem with the fact that I'm chair of P&R at the moment. I'm posting this motion. So happy enough that it goes to P&R.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Armstrong.
Yeah, Chair, disappointed we couldn't make it, but thank you. Yes, happy to have it taken up again, reconsidered at P&R. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, I'm aware that we've slightly gone over time, but Councillor Hayes has an AOB which is time sensitive, so I'm going to allow her to come in and speak on that.
Thank you, Chair. I promise I won't keep you too long. I just wanted to remind everybody that Fermanagh's very first Pride Festival is coming up this weekend. We'll be making history here. It's been a long time coming. It's taken much hard work. I won't go into everything that I was going to go into, but I would encourage all councillors to attend if they can, to see the vibrant celebration of LGBTQIA+ community, as diversity and inclusion are in all our council policies. It would be great to see cross-party council support for the event. There's a coffee morning on Friday in the Ashton Centre. There's a film being shown at the Enniskillen Hotel at 8 o'clock. It's called Pride. And on Saturday the 7th,
Can I keep you
first every Pride March, starting at 12:30 from the Fine Centre in Enniskillen. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, Nolene, and I need a seconder for that. Okay, thank you, Debbie. That's brilliant. So thank you very much, everybody, and safe home